10th, 33, John Andretti. 11th, 88, Gugelman. 12th, 19, Till. 13th, 91, Stan out of the race. 14th, 22, Matsushita. 15th, 16, Johansson. 16th, 71, Sharp. The balance, 17th, number 2, Emerson Fittipaldi was out of the race. 18th, 28, Ari Luyendyk out of the race. Still running in 19th, 90, Lynn St. James. The balance of these cars were out of the race. 20th, 59, Brayton. 21st, 5, Boiselle. 22nd, number 1, Mansell. 23rd, 3, Tracy. 24th, 99, Matsuda. 25th, 45, John Paul Jr. 26th, 79, Vitolo. 27th, 25, Greco. 28th, 7, Fernandez. 29th, 17, Dobson. 30th, 40, Goodyear. 31st, 10, Groff. 32nd, 6, Andretti. That's Mario Andretti. And 33rd, 21, Roberto Guerrero. The average again, 160.872.
I'm Bob Jenkins at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where an exciting race has come to a
primaries will figure into race day. We want to get the information on the picture-perfect conditions in Long Beach, and for that, we welcome in Ryan Marine.
Mark, when you conjure up Long Beach in your mind, this is the kind of day that you think about. It springs to mind right away. Clear blue skies overhead, just a light breeze coming off the water just across the way from where I'm stationed here in the pit lane. 75 degrees in the air, very comfortable, and track temperatures climbing now, up around 118 degrees around this street course. They've been climbing steadily throughout the day. There was some cloud cover early in the day, but that has burned off several hours ago, and so consequently, track temperatures starting to climb. Right now, a couple of cars that have gone out for installation laps and come straight back in. I've got my eyes on the One Cure Honda of Graham Rahal, who is pitted up toward pit out after his great run, first in qualifying and then to the podium at Barber the last time out. His crew's taking a look over that car, giving it a once-over. David Malukas has just arrived in the Team Penske pits as well, and they'll go ahead and nut and bolt everything, make sure everything's good to go before this practice gets started in earnest.
Thank you, Ryan. Look forward to having you with us throughout the course of the weekend. And Davey, a couple of notes for folks that follow this sort of thing. Since we are back on a street course, we're going to see, again, the tire strategy impacted because we're back to requiring 2 stints on the alternates for race day.
Yeah, you know, that's going to be interesting again because we've never had to do that here at Long Beach. One thing that's been different, it was a challenge, I think, at the first two times we tried it, and in Arlington, which, by the way, great race, great facility for the first time. It worked well. It would put a completely different strategy into it. Matter of fact, put Kyle Kirkwood, who, by the way, who's been the guy to beat here at Long Beach lately, put him in driver's seat. The strategy was perfect. He was able to pass Alex Palou here. So completely different courses, a way shorter course here, not near as fast as Arlington, so we'll see how that plays out, but it's something we all need to keep track of.
Okay, Davey, as far as qualifying, single car qualifying again, the Fast Six, a choice of qualifying order in the segment it will be based upon Segment 2 results. The fastest qualifier from Segment 2 will be the first to choose which position they would like to make their Fast Six qualifying run, with subsequent choices made for the remaining position based on the order of Segment 2. And lining up and pit out following the tire declaration. And once the qualifying order is determined, teams will make their tire selection, primary or alternates, prior to lining up in single file.
Yep, you know, that's another interesting call. I like it. I think that it really puts pressure on that on the driver at that point. And I think when you have pressure on the driver, I think they can try to get the most out of themselves. Completely new challenge for them, and I like the format.
Well, the legends always come out at Long Beach, and certainly Ryan Marine, the guy that you're with, is no exception. He is indeed a legend.
He is former IndyCar champion who I believe was reunited with his championship-winning car earlier today, if I saw that correctly on social media. Jimmy Vasser, kind enough to spend some time with us here in the pit lane. Let's go to that. I saw a picture of you standing in the cockpit of your old Chip Ganassi Racing Target IndyCar. That conjure up a couple of memories for you?
Oh, yeah. It's been a long time since I swung my leg over the body side pod into a cockpit. That didn't feel too good.
I'm sure you didn't maybe have to get limbered up as much as you used to, right,
yeah.
to climb aboard. But it's so neat to see a car of that era, and it just brings back so many memories of great racing across the country, but here at Long Beach in particular. What comes to mind for you?
Yeah, just, you know, it was a great meeting with Chip and Mike and Marshall, talking about, you know, the past, and a lot of great memories. And Long Beach has been good to us over the years, and yeah, no, it's some of the best memories of my life.
And it's been good to you so far this weekend as well in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. You got a couple of Lexuses in the GTD class, and they've been quick here all weekend so far.
Yeah, they have been, and we've been traditionally quick here. The Lexus just loves to run here at the beach, and hopefully if we can mind our P's and Q's tomorrow, keep our nose clean, we could be in the hunt at the end.
Of course, IndyCar very much at your heart. This was where you made your name, made your career. You were a team owner in IndyCar for a long time. Is it nice to get to hang around some of the old friends and see some familiar faces here on these shared weekends?
Yeah, in particular, I got Mark Johnson here next to me. He was our team manager at KV, and I raced with him at Ray Hall. And we said, we were coming from the IMSA pits and said, hey, let's just walk down the back of the IndyCar paddock. I haven't done this in a long time, and so we're just beginning our journey down pit lane.
I'm glad you did. It was great to get a chance to chat with you.
Thank you very much.
That's Jimmy Vasser.
Yeah, and they'll be out in force all throughout the course of the weekend talking about the legends, Davey. And outside the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that's not to take anything away from the significance of the importance of the rest of the schedule. But, boy, I'll tell you, I think save for maybe a Graham Rahal at Mid-Ohio, I think outside of the Indianapolis 500, this is the one that most drivers have on their list as a trophy they want so very, very badly.
You know, it's just the history of it, Mark. I mean, it started off being Formula One years ago, and as you said, we've raced so many times here now. It's so important. And, you know, you want to win at unique places, and this is definitely unique. And the biggest, you know, thing, another thing you want to win in front of people. I mean, this is just jam-packed with people. I know that radio ratings, TV ratings, the audience, the actual attendance here is outstanding. And by the way, brand new hospitality suites around this facility. They continue to update it and make it great for everybody.
That's what Jim was so excited about, I think, when we talked to him while we were at the race at Arlington, and he looked like a kid waiting for Christmas to roll around, and that has changed in a huge way, the look of that main straightaway for sure. Okay, so let's talk about this racetrack and how very, very challenging it is. Well, it's challenging for everyone but Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah.
A little under 2 miles in length. There were 11 turns, 6 to the left, 5 to the right. It's a minimum of 35 feet. It widens out to 60. And as you suggest, been around for a while. First race there in 1975.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll start at the start-finish line, which you see the start-finish line, but it's on the front straightaway, which is definitely not straight whatsoever, Mark. It's you're bending to the right, and it's a sharp bend around that front straightaway. So it's really blind the whole time you're going around there. And then you set up for turn one, which also you got to be careful as cars are coming out of the pits. They also merge into turn one, so that's tricky throughout the weekend. Very fast, a lot of braking going to that left-hander, and then it just bends to the right. But another tricky area is it's pretty much single file, although we've seen them too wide going around that famous fountain, around the flowers in the fountain, down there in turn one and turn two. Another right-hander. You know, it's there. This is where it gets tricky. Going down in turn 3 and 4, it's really off camber down there, Mark, and it's really hard to get on the throttle. And that whole part is really slick getting through turns 3, 4, 5. Going on that back straightaway, though, it is a straightaway. Going down in that final right-hander, coming off that back straightaway. We have a red right now, Mark. I'm going to just interrupt real quick. It looks like just somebody had ran off. Looks like that is down there in that turn 4 area. There where he just slid off there a little bit. Yeah, it sure is.
Looks like Schumacher.
Yeah, Schumacher with new livery, by the way. But coming off that back straightaway in turns 9, you know, it's rough. We talk about this year in and year out, how bumpy it is coming off going into that right-hand corner, and it is still rough this year, Mark. I mean, it's maybe even worse than this has been, but it's just another challenge. And then you know, coming into that famous hairpin, coming onto that front straightaway, we see him get piled up there many times. It's a hard corner to get through fast, but the ones that can come off there without any wheel spin and make it down that long front straightaway are the ones that are going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, and you know, this is a challenge, as we talked about and often do when it comes to street courses, that there's no consistency to the pavement, and that certainly affects your grip levels.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, and you're right. Matter of fact, early on, the start-finish line, we'll just talk about this. I was one of the first ones on for Media Day, or was the first car on track for Media Day, and I got wheel spin over the paint on the start-finish line. Yeah. You're going pretty darn fast, so between the paint, between the asphalt, going to the concrete, and back and forth, grip levels are really a challenge around here, but I have to say, there's so many cars, and you got the DP cars here with IMSA, you have drifters, you got Robbie Gordon trucks, a lot of cars to keep this track very active. As the weekend goes, we continue to talk about how it gets better and better and better. And like I say, I was out just a little while ago with the two-seater, and it really felt good early on. So I think we're going to see some good times today.
Did you make your way through the preferred line at the approach to turn number 9, where there is a bump or two upon entrance, which we have seen? It upset the balance of the race car plenty over the past couple of years.
And we just talked. It's still very bumpy, Mark. Maybe even worse than it has been. It's you got to hang on to the steering wheel pretty darn hard going to turn 9, and it's fast down there. Braking point is very, very critical, and it's hard to get that. You know, it's hard to be there fast, but then you're dealing with the bumps. It's fun. I mean, I think that's one of the most challenging parts of the racetrack, and we've seen how many guys have we seen make that mistake and shoot off and turn 9, Mark, as those bumps.
Exciting news recently involving Hunter McElrea, and Ryan Marine has caught up with him.
Yeah, fans of Indy Next will certainly recognize the name. Fans of IMSA will as well. He's had a really good run, including winning in class in the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring not so long ago. But he was just named as a reserve driver for, ECR, as it's now known, in the NTT INDYCAR Series. Hunter, congratulations. How did this come about? I know you've tested for the team a couple of times in the past, but how did it finally get solidified in an official role?
Just kind of open communication, I guess. Yeah. ECR is obviously a team that's on the rise, and they've given me the last 2 chances to drive IndyCar, which has been, meant the world to me. And yeah, I loved every lap with them, and they gave me the opportunity to join the team in this capacity for now as a reserve role, and obviously to be a part of a team, like I said, with such momentum and be back at IndyCar is pretty no-brainer for me. So yeah, exciting times.
What is involved in the role as a reserve driver?
Pretty much anything they want me to do, I guess. A lot of Java House peel and pause, that's for sure. But no, it's basically for now just kind of soaking up everything I can. Also not trying to get in the way. These guys have to do a job as well. But, simulator stuff, obviously we've already done some on-track testing this year, and kind of just whatever they need me to do, really.
As mentioned, you're staying sharp behind the wheel, driving an LMP2 car at IMSA. You've been dabbling in sports cars for the last couple of years. When you do get your chance to jump in these Indy cars and go testing, how helpful is that? It's a much different car, but at least it's something relatively comparable, right?
For sure. I mean, just driving in general and seat time you can't replace. Obviously, the IndyCar, every time I get reminded of no power steering, it's a bit of a shock on the first push lap. But ultimately, it's what I'm used to at my core. I drove junior open wheel cars pretty much my whole career. So it kind of comes back reasonably quickly, I would say. So it's kind of where I feel like I belong and where I'd love to be. So, yeah, it's kind of like an old shoe fitting back in.
Any idea when the next time you'll get a chance to drive one of these ECR Indy cars might be?
For now, not sure. Kind of just doing what the team asked me for now and trying to just support these guys the best I can from what they need from me. But, yeah, obviously I wouldn't complain to be back in one, hopefully.
Oh, we'd love to see it as well. Thanks very much. That's Hunter McElrea, new reserve driver for ECR, which coincidentally won the pit stop competition last night. So a little bit of wind in their sails already here to start the weekend.
And, Davey, bottom line is this for that young man. It's so important to be at the racetrack and be as entrenched in that process as you can be. I mean, if you're one of those guys, regardless of your level of success, if you're going to sit around the house and wait on the phone to ring, you're probably going to be waiting a while.
Yeah, that's right. You don't want to wait around. You have, that's a lot of these drivers, a lot of these fabulous drivers. I mean, they can get the job done, no question about it. There's not always a place and a seat for him. We only have so many teams, so many cars that can come to these events, and he's one of them that's, just banging on that door, wants the opportunity and to get in, and that having him as a reserve driver I think is always good. We see Toby Sowery just did the same thing with the AJ Foyt team, and these drivers, just to have that opportunity I think is very healthy.
Liquid Depth, the sponsorship of the car of Mick Schumacher this weekend, and right now that car is sitting in the exit of the pits. They towed it back that way and waiting for the team to come and retrieve it, and of course he'll have the obligatory hold once they figure out exactly what the issue was. And we've often wondered, and we've talked to Davey Hamilton about it, of course plenty experienced in the cockpit, but we've often wondered exactly what the checklist is like for these drivers as they work their way through the weekend in these practice sessions. And earlier today, we were able to catch up with Will Power to find out exactly what they worked throughout the course of a weekend.
I mean, it's a group decision, mainly driven by the engineer. So, yeah, I mean, we have it down to you're doing this many laps first run, this many second, this many third. Then we go to reds, you're doing 3 and 3. So it's very, very scheduled. It's very, like, this is exactly what we're doing. These are the changes we're doing. So, it's on me to get out there, give the feedback. Sure. Yeah, it's got down to that level of detail.
Yeah, and Davey, with these ever-evolving rules involving the tire distribution and allotment and what you can use and when, that's a process that it's a challenge for these teams because they're not going to be able to get comfortable with it. There's no routine to it anymore.
Yeah, there's not. You have, and by the way, he's right. Every time that we got before we went for practice, we had strategies. We had a checklist of what to do. And all these teams have been here before, so they know kind of a basic setup at what they ran into previously, what they needed to fix. But, just like Mick Schumacher, they had a list too, but something happened to his car. It shut off. So it completely changes everything for the weekend on when things don't go your way. It's the ones that unload off the trailer and the car's really good and you really don't have to go through that list. That's the guys that are tough to beat.
Hey, need to go back and put a bit of a period on this updated qualifying format. Need to add, Davey, that during Firestone Fast 6 single car qualifying, drivers will leave the pit lane and get an opportunity for one lap, starting and ending at the alternate start-finish line. Once the car enters pit lane following that driver's attempt, that's when the next car will be released for its attempt. As in the Streets of Arlington event, tire allotments and tire rules remain unchanged. And we should make mention, get used to this format because you're going to see it in Detroit, Markham, Ontario, and in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I think, whenever, for whatever reason, we're not privy to being in those meetings and really asking why or how they come up with these, but it seems to be they decided it works on the temporary courses, and they're gonna play it. And I'd like to say again, I think it's most changes they make, there's a reason for them. We don't always know that, but I think it's something healthy. I always loved having that challenge as you and your car to get that one lap in. It's such a challenge because you can't make a mistake. You have to have everything perfect. And it's always the fastest guy doesn't always, for the weekend, doesn't always make the fastest in qualifying, just because if you make that one teeny mistake in your one lap that you really have a chance to throw it down, it changes everything.
Well, I felt important for a change when I was at Barber along with our Michael Young because Kyle Novak stopped us and asked us to weigh in on it and what we thought about this format. And I told him, I said, well, I said the concerns that I have heard is the fact that a lot of people like the fact that all 6 cars are out and there's more cars on the track and more activity. But having said that, I did agree with you in the fact that I do like the idea of the pressure of you getting one shot at it.
Yeah, getting one shot, and it happened. You know, I mean, when you dominate for the weekend and you're the fastest guy all weekend long, and then all of a sudden you're not on the pole because you messed up that lap. I love the pressure. I think it's healthy for a driver to put that pressure on himself and get the very most out of the car. And they do it. Don't get me wrong, Mark. They're doing it when they go to qualify, but sometimes when you have 5, 6 laps to be able to get it done, you're going to find that one perfect lap, even though you make a mistake on 1 or 2 of them.
But we should make note of the fact that if Firestone Fast 6 single car qualifying is impacted by weather or conditions, either this weekend or in those races to come, or if the track changes significantly from one attempt to another, IndyCar does have the option, Davey. They can revert to the standard Fast 6 qualifying procedures, which is an all skate, or they would simply use the results from segment 2 to set the starting lineup for the race.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Mark, as we think, okay, well, it happened. We did it. It's going to be sunny all weekend. It's great conditions. But, yeah, what does happen if it's raining and it's a lot of water on the track, or if it rains halfway through that session, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that could change things up because we're rain or shine when it comes to these street and road courses.
A lot of takers early on, 22 in fact, as we see Schumacher's car has been retrieved by his crew and they're pushing it back to the pit box. And early on, Davey, Palo, Simpson, Dixon, Collette, and Erickson turning laps and doing so at a pretty good clip. Yeah,
had Ganassi cars first, second, third. Erickson changed that up a little bit just now by shooting up into P2. Here comes VK in that third spot. Times are going to start falling pretty drastically right now as they're getting warmed up. They really didn't get a chance with that yellow flag with Schumacher. See him walking back behind his race car. Not sure the problem there. We'll find that out. But yeah, wing update on Schumacher right now.
Ryan?
Yeah, I just checked in with the team, and actually Dirk Muller, who's kind of been his driver manager and advisor, gave me the information. Honda technicians saw something on the telemetry they didn't like, so they've sent that car back to the paddock, and that's where they're going to work on it now. But as Dirk pointed out, this is worst case scenario, of course. Mick's never been here. You can't go testing here. Really a difficult situation for the rookie as he's trying to jumpstart a season that has not gotten off the way that anybody anticipated.
And you know, Davey, I appeared today on a show, The Fan, the ESPN affiliate in Indianapolis, with our good friend Greg Rakestraw. And Greg asked me, what is the expectation level? What do you need to see from Mick Schumacher, a driver, of course, that has international recognition, a legendary motorsports name? What's the expectation level like for him in 2026? And I said, well, he said it best himself. He just needs laps of the car, and things like this are just devastating to that cause.
Yeah, well, Ryan nailed it. I mean, his season just hasn't, a lot of things completely out of his control by not getting laps. I mean, he took it out the first lap at the very first race. That's not what he wanted. He did finish Arlington, got some laps in there, qualified really good at Phoenix, P3. That's really impressive. Never been on oval, and that tricky 1 mile track at Phoenix, and you can say first time ever there, qualified third. That's impressive. That's a big stat right there in my book. And right now, as Ryan just said, man, never going here before. You need lap time, and that's all he's asking for. I don't think there's any real expectations other than get him laps, let him just do his thing, and I have confidence that he hasn't been in a race car that much. He was Formula One for a short stint. He wasn't in the best car over there, so he really hasn't been able to prove what he really has yet.
Davey, did we just see Alexander Rossi maybe have an issue with that bump at the entrance to turn number 9?
He was the first one. At first and not the last. Let's put it that way. The very first one, they got in there just a little bit too hot, got into the bumps, front tires locked up, went into that runoff area. Just barely was able to turn and get back on track fairly rapidly. But those bumps are so brutal down there, and you really want to drive it in. It tells you, I know I can brake really deep, but then you think, okay, well, there's those bumps. So how do I either get around them? How do I manage not getting the tires to bounce off the ground and where you overshoot that corner?
Notable change on the ECR cars this weekend. That car of Alexander Rossi carrying the Liquid Science orange livery on it this weekend, and his teammate Christian Rasmussen, Liquid Science Arctic Breeze. So they're doing a great job in promoting the various products connected with ECR. Yeah, on board actually with Rossi as well, with the Splenda obviously there, and Slim Fast, a company that they purchased. So what Ed and that entire team, man, what a great job they've been able to do to really get this team on track with proper budgets, proper drivers.
we know they could win. I mean, they should have won Phoenix really with Rasmussen. Had a dominant car that day, just some mistakes and some unfortunate circumstances kept them out of victory lane. But, you know, they have what it takes right now. Those cars look beautiful, and it's great seeing all those new sponsor names on the car.
Davey, I want to tell you this while you're sitting down, but Alex Palou and Kyle Kirkwood run 1-2. I know
I seen that. I said, yeah, Palou, Kirkwood, Rossi. How about Rossi? You know, he was fast at Arlington too, right off the bat. Didn't have a great race, but those three guys right now, and Rossi, he loves this place like a home track for him, being a California guy. Yeah, that's right.
So it's Palou and Kirkwood. They're in the 68s, and in the 69s, Dixon, Rossi. Scott Dixon is currently third fastest. Then Nolan Siegel is fifth quick. Alex Palou has the fast lap. He just upped that to a 68.4489. Erickson, Armstrong, Simpson, Will Power among the top 10. Pato O'Ward, after a disastrous weekend at Barber Davey, he's looking for a rebound and some momentum as May is right around the corner.
Yeah, well, he just shoots the P2, as we just saw you're talking about him. He just went to P2, Maluka's P3. Pato hasn't had the year he's won it either. I mean, just things haven't gone his way. He, you know, when he gets out of a race car and goes, man, the car's great, I feel good, that was a good lap, and he's down on the timing charts. He was surprised. We were all surprised, but that's not a good sign when you really feel good, your car is good, but they're lacking something somewhere, and he just hasn't been able to put it together. Another thing, you know, the whole team had the last race at Barber just did not perform well whatsoever, other than Lundgaard. He was up there challenging for the lead, but the other two cars are, you know, kind of just hanging out in the back of the field.
I know Christian Lundgaard has gotten a victory late already, but I think he's a guy that people feel like can start winning races with a little more regularity.
Yeah, you know, I think so as well. And he has confidence where he is right now. He knows he's there for a while. Whenever you have a good team and a good contract to go with that good team, your confidence goes really high. But, you know, you do put pressure on yourself. Just because you got a contract and a good team doesn't mean you can just ride easy. You got to go hard because this series is so darn competitive right now. And there's always somebody else looking at that back door. And contracts aren't what they used to be, Mark. I mean, if you're not performing, they have a way to get you out of there pretty quickly. And I think Lundgaard's that guy that he knows what he has. He knows he needs to win. He's had the speed to win, and I expect him to see on top of that podium many more times.
Well, the folks at Firestone tell us that the tire compound that's being raced on the streets of Long Beach this weekend, the same constructed compounds that were tested at Sebring, and what was used for the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Pete and Arlington. And the reason I bring that up, Davey, is because throughout the first part of this season, when we had this initial 40-minute all-skate, we had a lot of drivers take a wait-and-see approach to that. I mean, some of them waited as long as 10 or 15 minutes to get into the car. But, boy, we've had all 25 cars out on this just a few minutes into the session.
That's right. Not all of them made a lot of laps, but they've all been out there, which is great. Some of them 2, 3, 4 laps. But right now they're going for it. And I think, you know, back to, I don't want to say this to downgrade any other race we go to because they're all so important, but I think it's down to just what this race means. Just how you got to be fast here. You have to qualify. You got to have good starting positions. I mean, history proves that. You need to start towards the front of this field to win this race, it seems, and they all want to get there. So practice is very important here at Long Beach.
But I'm also going to say that this is because of the fact that the alterations to the qualifying format, as much as anything involving the tires, I think even though the Firestone Fast 6, when it's an all-skate, is only a 6-minute session, that's still a 4 or 5, sometimes 4 or 5 more laps you're putting on a set of tires, correct?
Yeah, you know, that's right. You know, you got to be really cautious and careful about that. You're exactly right. You don't want to overdo your tires or use your allotment up too quickly. But I do think that it's, you know, balance is everything here. And I think a lot of these drivers, when they know the balance is there, they can take a little extra time on that track and maybe use their tires just a little bit more just because the balance of the car's there. Get them comfortable, get them confident. We're on board with the Graham Rahal right now. Seems to be having a fairly good run. We'll see when he crosses the timing line, by the way, which is right in between turns 9 and 10. And we'll see where he turns. It doesn't move up that much farther, so just getting going there for Rahal, still in that 21st spot.
So we're down to, let's see, about 13 minutes remaining in this session, and Alex Palou continues P1. Felix Rosenquist, Pato O'Ward, Scott McLaughlin, David Malukas, the top 5. Let's run through the full field for you. I should let you know that Palou continues to show the fast way at a 68.44.89. Rosenquist in the 68 along with O'Ward, McLaughlin. It looks like David Malukas, Christian Lundgaard. He's in the 68. Alexander Rossi. Kyle Kirkwood is 8th. 9th is Armstrong. 10th is Newgarden. Then we get down to 11th at Willpower. 12th, Regis VK. Then we get into the 109s with Graham Rahal, who's currently shown in the 13th position. Dixon is 14th. Erickson 15th. Foster is 16th. Kyle Collette is 17th. Nolan Siegel 18th. Kiffin Simpson 19th. Roman Grosjean 20th. Dennis Hauger is 21st. Santino Ferrucci 22nd. Stingray Robb 23rd. Christian Rasmussen currently 24th, and Mick Schumacher, issues for that car. He's currently in 25th. Anything as we see car getting a little loose coming off that hairpin?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. You know, I even noticed there is good grip right now coming off. That was Rosenquist. Just so much power down. But I think what happened there, honestly, that he didn't have the speed on entry and carrying it through the middle. So when he got to the throttle that hard, it just lit the back tires up. But that's something that you got to watch for. That happens in the race, and somebody's stalking you from behind. You lose all your momentum, and it's going to just multiply as you go down that long straightaway. So that's a key place to get a lot of good grip is coming off that final corner.
And then you have always said that you feel like that hairpin, you've got to do it just right. And if you do, that bending front straightaway all the way down to turn 1 is quite a reward for you. If you carry momentum through that hairpin, it's going to help you a lot.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the faster you can come off, it's just your mile an hour increases. Your top mile an hour just is better than your competition if you're not spinning your tires on exit. That's where it all starts. It's like drag racing, and then there's that draft. If you spin your tires and that guy behind you doesn't, he's not only got momentum on you, but he's got that draft on them long straightaway to be able to outbrake you down into turn 1.
So let's take a look at the points, Davey. As we mentioned, Kyle Kirkwood leads by a couple of points over Alex Palou. Christian Lundgaard is 156 to 154. You've got Lundgaard at 121, Malukas at 116, Newgarden at 113, O'Ward 106. And then you get down to 7th place running Scott McLaughlin, who's tied with Marcus Ericsson with 99 apiece. Armstrong is at 98, and the top 10 wrapped up by Scott Dixon with 85 points. So, quite frankly, it's still anybody's race. Oh,
for sure. And the points are as important as they are, and I love keeping track of them early on in the season. But I think the real turning point is the Indy 500. I just think once that race is over, see where everybody's at after that event. I know there's a lot of races left after the Indy 500 to complete, but kind of gives you an indication where everybody's sitting and who the guys that really have a good opportunity, because by that point in the season, you know if you're strong for the season or not.
I don't know if early on, even though with the successes that he's had, and let's face it, there's conflicting opinions maybe as to who exactly caused the DNF for Palou at Phoenix, which is a rarity. But I don't know that I get the sense that anybody's going to reel off 8 or 9 wins this season.
Well, no, and I think that if you ask him, he's the guy going, man, I don't know how we did that, but we did it, thank goodness, and it was a great run for us. But we know that's not going to happen year in and year out. He knows that this is going to be an uphill battle just to get wins, much less that many in a row and that many wins for the season, and really, smoking them in the championship. So this year's going to be different, no question about it. I mean, he has already made up time. I mean, a lot of points to put himself on top of this charter. Battling for the lead of the championship already with a DNF. So I put him in, as a definite favorite, my favorite for the championship. But like I said, long ways to go.
That is not a precarious limb for sure that you're going out on by picking Alex Palou. Ryan Marine, more on Alex Palou.
Well, they're not content, as you might expect, a team like Chip Ganassi Racing with the pace that they've had so far, because he just spent a significant amount of time in the pit lane. They did some significant chassis adjustments, damper changes, things of that nature. It's interesting, his run of form here at Long Beach. He's made 5 previous starts. He's never won here, but on the other hand, he's also never finished worse than 5th, and he's never qualified worse than 10th here at Long Beach. So although this is one of the few places on the schedule that we haven't seen Palou in victory lane, this is a place he's been on the podium with some regularity in the past, and he did also clinch his championship here that first year back in 2021 when this was the season finale. So plenty of happy memories, even if he's yet to get the race win in Long Beach.
Davey, we mentioned the contenders for the championship. If we flip it to the other end, currently in 22nd place in that leader's circle race, and I know, again, it's very early on. You've got Christian Rasmussen with 44 points. He's 22nd. 21st is Louis Foster with 46. Kyle Collette has 51, along with Roman Grosjean in 20th and 19. Kiffin Simpson has 55. Hauger 57. So let's go outside of those 22. 23rd is Nolan Siegel with 38 points. Stingray Robb with 35 points, and Mick Schumacher dead last with 31 points.
Yeah, that's going to be, you know, we know how important it is to get into that leader circle and get that additional money. Those three are really, you know, they got to get their programs together, like Mick Schumacher. A lot of things out of his hands, just like what happened right now. They got to get that car a little more consistent, and he get a little bit of luck. And I think once that happens, that he could be the one towards the front. We got Siegel with one of the best teams on the track right now, just not things going his way either. And Stingray Robb, you know, he's been with that Uncos team before. They're in jeopardy, and they really got to find their, you know, their footing to make sure they finish in that top 20, their top 22.
7 minutes remaining in this session. A couple of 15-minute segments coming up after this. Palo, Rosenquist, Award, McLaughlin, and Malukas the top 5. Then Lundgaard, Rossi, Kirkwood, Armstrong, and Newgarden. Team Penske, obviously, a lot of controversy surrounding that team, and finishes outside of what you're used to seeing them over the past couple of years, Danny. A lot of off-track issues, and now it appears as though with all of the changes that they made in the management structure, and the most notable change from Will Power to David Malukas, they appear as though that they're back in business and have hit a pretty good stride to start the season.
Yeah, they really have. And I talked to Will at Media Day here a few weeks ago, and just, you know, just the things that have happened. And it's not just any one thing, just a lot of different things. And he goes, we feel good. He feels good there. He feels like he has a lot of speed, but it has to get going. And one thing I have to say, we have some sector times on here. Power, number 1 in first sector. I mean, so that means he's got some speed there. He's feeling good. And then it's odd. Rosenquist is fastest in sector 2, and then Pato Ward fastest in sector 3. Those are very important because you need to put all those together to have the best time. Right now we got 3 different guys fastest in 3 different parts of the racetrack. So the guy that can be more consistent, by the way, the guy on top below, he's not fastest in any of them, but he is in all of them, you know, on all 3 sectors he places.
But haven't some of the quote-unquote experts that have kind of dissected what he does in the lap have said the thing that makes him so incredibly tough is the fact that he is so very, very smooth through some of the most difficult portions of the racetrack?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, smooth is fast. We say that forever in these race cars. And I just think that one thing that he's able to do under braking is keep the car under such good control and be able to drive in a little deeper than everybody. Keeps that momentum up, though, not just slowing the car down too much. And that really keeps his exit good. And I think that's where that smoothness and just his confidence of his footwork and his handwork together just really makes him good.
One thing I just noticed is Felix Rosenquist made his way through turn number 8. Over the past couple of years, it appears as though that the apex of that turn has changed ever so slightly, and I say ever so slightly, but it's something noticeable from the standpoint that, and I shouldn't say this, I might be jinxing it, we haven't seen nearly the incidents over the past couple of years at turn 8 that we started to see build up. Is that correct? You've been through there. Is that tire barrier still there? Is it extended as long as it was?
Yeah, no, what happened there, it is. But, you know, a few years when they take that inside curbing out completely, and that helped everything and made it a lot faster through there. It gives them more room. I mean, it's still an area where you really want to challenge and you really want to make some passes in that turn 8 mark. But you're right, that area right now, it's opened up a little bit, kept the speed up. When it was choked down by that inside rumble strips, that's when I think we've seen all the problems.
Pretty abrupt changes. We talked about the different surfaces that you see here, and again, we continue to ride along with Felix Rosenquist. A noticeable transition is once you clear the fountain area, work your way around that fountain club, and you clear turn number 5. You are on noticeable concrete. You glide underneath that pedestrian bridge. But, Davey, as soon as you make that left-hander into turn number 6 and set up for the short little blip that's turn number 7, you're on asphalt.
You're on asphalt, and, you know, the grip seems to be good there, but you're just turning, and it's going over that rise, and I think there you have to have such a smooth foot because it's easy to get wheel spin over that area, and that's back to momentum. You know, these Indy cars, they're all the same. So it comes down to these teams and drivers and getting that little bit of extra out of them. Y'all have the same tires, y'all have the same chassis. The only difference is you either have a Honda or a Chevrolet, and they're so darn close, and now it's up to your team and you to extract every bit of power, speed, energy out of that race car. And when everybody is so talented on this pit lane, that's what makes it hard. But that turn 7 and 8, or 6 and 8 that you're talking about, those ones there, that's when you can lose a lot of ground. I'll be honest with you, that's where if things are wrong and you can't get that momentum going, as we got a red flag out, looks like some debris on the front straightaway right now, Mark. Nobody off track, so that's good. But that's key to get through that area.
So it looks like there's a red flag condition out with about 3 minutes remaining in this session. One thing's for sure, Davey, when drivers figure this place out, they're usually hard to beat. You look at the 6 wins by Al Unser Jr. and multiple wins by Mario and Michael and Alex Zanardi and Sebastian Bourdais and others, and of late Kyle Kirkwood. So it's a tough nut to crack, but those who do it are usually justly rewarded with multiple wins.
It is it's one of those tracks that it just has to fit you. And once you figured out exactly what it takes, we've seen some debris on that front straightaway now. It's a good call. And it just, I don't know, it just happens. And sometimes with different teams, but once you get that feel, once you get that, you know the confidence of this racetrack and you know exactly where to put the car, it just seems like the wins start racking up.
And, it's interesting, Ryan Marine, except for Rossi's wins at 18 and 19 and Kirkwood winning for the pole at 23 and 25, the pole has not necessarily been the place to start at Long Beach. Just 6 drivers, in fact, have won it from the top spot.
That is stunning because the track has a reputation of being difficult to pass on, but clearly you can make a couple of moves, and there's also usually a strategic wrinkle involved in some of these victories. But I think anybody you talk to will say they would love to start on the pole regardless of that statistic. And just to build on what you guys were talking about, I talked to Kyle Kirkwood earlier today about exactly that, the fact that sometimes you turn up at a track and you just know it clicks. This is going to be good for you. And going back to Kyle's rookie year, there weren't too many highlights, quite frankly, in that year with A.J. Foyt Racing, but one was right here at Long Beach where he finished 7th. It was his best finish in that rookie campaign, and he told me that from the very first session, the very first practice, he knew this is going to be a special place for me, and it's continued to be that way over the course of his career.
We should continue to remind, too, Davey, the significance that Larry and A.J. played in the development of Kyle Kirkwood, because had he not been loaned out, who knows what would have happened to his NTT IndyCar Series career.
That's you're absolutely right. And we could say that about so many drivers that you just didn't know. Everything had to go right for them to make sure, and you didn't know if it was going to. But they were one of the lucky ones that got the program together. They were able to have that ride, show what they had to prove and what they had for talent. And then, they were also that he was signed up by Andretti, actually. And so Andretti's seen what he did with they brought him back into their camp, and man, what a magical time it's been for both of them.
Big announcement in terms of the management structure of the NTT IndyCar Series is veteran motorsports executive and longtime race team engineer Michael Guerra. Davey has been named Vice President of Competition, Race Engineering for the NTT IndyCar Series.
Yeah, he's been around such a long time, and it really, I seen it, and it totally surprised me because he's been with Chip for, over 20 years, probably over 25 years to be really honest with you, a long, long time, and just thought that that's where he's going to be forever because he's done such a great job over there. But then again, it didn't surprise me, just that long with the team, even though things are perfect, they get along great, but just another challenge for him, and I think he's going to do a great job, actually, in this role. It just surprised me that somewhat that he left Ganassi to do it.
Now, he's a couple of stints with Chip Ganassi. He goes all the way back to Sarah Fisher Racing as the Director of Operations from 2010 to 2014, even further back. Team that you're affiliated with, Dreyer Reinbold Racing, from 2000 to 2004. And, one of the noteworthy names in motorsport for sure, and I think that's a move that's been universally applauded.
Well, that O'Gara name and that O'Gara family, they've been with every team between that entire family. There's a lot of O'Garas out there, and they're all very talented. They love motorsports big time. They're all involved with it, and so there's been an O'Gara with most of the teams here at one point or another, I'd have to think.
So the checkered flag flies on this session, Davey, and so now we get to the point to where we split them into a couple of different groups. And what about their focus changes from this 40-minute all-skate to these 2 separate sessions?
It's going to be interesting. I think they're going to work on their qualifying just a little bit because they have more opportunity for clean racetrack right now than all the cars out there. I think this is a really good opportunity to say, okay, we're going to have clean track. They may continue on to a path they're already going, though, because of they just have more time to be able to get it done and just some clear racetrack. But I like it. I like this split group because of it does give you some clear racetrack. It gives each guy a different chance. I'd like to be in the first group than the second. I think it's a little bit of an advantage. But even at that, I think it's always good that they do have this split group.
Alex Palou fastest, and that was at a 68.4489. Felix Rosenquist at a 68.5397. Then O'Ward at a 68.5721. McLaughlin, Malukas through the top 5. Then Lundgaard, Rossi, Kirkwood, Armstrong, and Newgarden in the top 10. Ray Hall 11th, Power 12th, PK 13th, Dixon 14th, Kiffin Simpson 15th, Marcus Ericsson 16th, Louis Foster 17th, Kyle Collette is 18th, Nolan Siegel 19th, Roman Grosjean 20th, Dennis Hauger 21st, Stingray Robb 22nd, Christian Rasmussen 23rd, Santino Ferrucci currently running in the 24th position, and Schumacher only turned a couple of laps, Davey, before he had an issue. That car continues to be poured over by that team. He was 25th fastest.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be able to get him out and get some laps. I don't know if it's going to happen this first session, but one quick thing, you know, some of these guys, they still have a lot of speed to go. Hauger and Grosjean, 20th and 21st. That's both with that with the Coin Racing team, with Only Bulls as a sponsor on those cars. I mean, they you know, have to find a little bit of speed for sure when they're that far back as a team.
Well, Davey, it won't be long, and the attention will be totally and completely focused on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and all will be right with the world. And, of course, we have the Sanzio Grand Prix to kick off the month. And then, of course, the Indianapolis 500. But, Davey, before that, a pretty significant test for these teams coming up.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a great test next Tuesday and Wednesday. Or I guess it's the 27th, 28th at the end of the month. But it's going to be, I mean, it's going to lay it out where all teams are going to be there now. There's only 32 cars entered right now at this point, but there is a 33rd car. I know there is. I assure you there is. I'm not going to there's an option with a couple drivers in that 33rd car. I'm not sure which driver is going to get the seat, but it will happen. I don't know if they're going to make that test. I'm assuming that they will not make that test, but here we know we have a 33-car field, and that test is going to be key for everybody.
Norway rookie Dennis Hauger driving for Dale Coyne Racing. We caught up with him earlier today to ask him about his anticipation level as we get ready for a test at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
My mind hasn't really gone into that yet. I mean, I've looked at videos since last year from the 500, from every track that we're going to, so I mean, obviously a bit prepared, but it's just going to be about taking it step by step for me. Get out there and see how it feels. You know, we've worked a bit with the team in the off season to try and get everything in shape, as everyone else has. So now it's just going to be about taking it step by step, trying to build up as a team, and obviously we're getting a couple of days, or quite a few days before qualifying, so I'm sure we will flip the car around twice and, you know, and setup-wise and see where we end up.
Yeah. Nervous, excited, or both about going that fast?
Just excited at the moment. Probably will be a bit more nervous when we get closer to it, but usually I don't care too much about the speed and stuff like that, so I'm just looking forward to see how it feels at the end of the day.
That's our Ryan Marine, who caught up with Dennis Hauger earlier today. And, Davey, I think he makes a great point. I mean, sure, you're thinking about it, but the bottom line is you got to focus on the task at hand here at Long Beach.
Yeah, that's right. He'll wait till that comes. Right now, he wants to be at his very best at every single race this season. He's also an Andretti driver loaned out to Del Coyne, so you know he wants to really prove himself to try to get one of those Andretti seats, which I don't know where that would be, but we'll just wait and see. But one race at a time, and he's taking it very, very good, because the 500 is a completely different element. We all know that. We know how special that is. That race means everything to everybody. And get through these and then focus on that one race, and you're going to focus harder because you have a couple weeks to think about it.
Well, I mean, and let's face it, it can go one of two ways for you. It can go very, very well, and then when it comes time to tackle the oval after you clear the Sanzio Grand Prix, you can feel pretty good about your car and your setup. or that setup that worked well, depending on the conditions, may not work at all by the time you get the practice time of the Open.
Yeah, and so many things change. We know that, Mark. I mean, just from weather to, just having one bad day, one incident. I mean, it's a magical place, but it's the most difficult place. It doesn't seem that hard, just 4 corners, no real big deal, going 230 miles an hour, but everything changes so much around there, and you just got to be on top of it every day. And there's not a race fan alive that's not excited about the Indy 500, but all of us sitting in this booth and talking right now to have the opportunity to be there so many times, it never gets old.
Banked 9-degree quarter-mile turns, banked at 9-degree 12 minutes, and I'm sure that the first time you ever saw them, you probably thought, they just can't be as different as everybody said. And would it take about a lap or two to figure out that they were right?
They're very different, yeah. And matter of fact, when I started there, I mean, there was way different things to look at. For example, we didn't have the windsock on top of the pylon because the pylon wasn't even there. So we looked at a tree down in turn 1 that's no longer there, and that's how you tell which way the wind's blowing, which way the leaves were kind of going. So things have changed a lot, but you're right. Those corners are totally different. You have your favorites. You have the ones you dislike. But when the car's right, man, there's no place like it. That, like I say, it's a magical place, no question about it. And how... quarter-mile track, you think that could never happen, but you work hard enough at it, it proves it can happen.
Yeah, and we are obviously excited about not only the test, but the race on the road course, and then to move on and focus on the Indianapolis 500 for sure. All right, well, the first group is out and getting their laps, and it'll be Pato Ward. Looks like Kyle Kirkwood, Felix Rosenquist, Will Power, Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, Roman Grosjean, Santino Ferrucci, Rinus VeeKay, Marcus Ericsson, and Louis Foster. Back to Ryan Marine.
One of the cars not taking part in this first session is Scott Dixon, the PNC Bank number 9 Honda. Mike Hull is his strategist and kind enough to take a couple of moments here to chat with us. Mike, we've been talking about this relatively new procedure here for these practices, the way that they're splitting the groups at the end of these. How has that affected the way that Chip Ganassi Racing approaches these practices and your run plan going into one of these days?
Well, I think today we benefit by most all the teams here, not just Chip Ganassi Racing, but we benefit between Chevrolet and Honda having active and very, very well-run simulator programs. Without that, it would be really much more difficult without on-track testing somewhere else.
Understandable. So now, when you go out in your second group, are you downloading information from teammate cars that are going out, or are you kind of on your own island here?
Well, we're island bound because all our cars are for the most part, are in this upcoming session. But what's great about the collaboration is after the session is over, we'll look at it getting ready for tomorrow.
What is the focus then in the time that you have left?
Well, certainly to make sure the balance is right, we've made a change here. We'll go out on black tires at the beginning and then go to reds after that. And we want to find out a bit about the red tire for the rest of the weekend.
I've seen some quotes from Scott talking about the importance of qualifying. This year, the results, you've raced your way forward, but you've left yourself with a lot of work to do on race day. How have you approached trying to handle that potential deficiency through the first 4 races?
Well, the workload is different if you don't qualify well. But I think that's the nature or an indication of where the field is. It's great that we race in a place where a tenth of a second for a 60-second lap like we'll have at Long Beach makes a significant difference when the race begins.
Certainly so. Hey, really appreciate the time as always.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good stuff, and always appreciate the insight that Mike Hull offers. And Davey, he's an open book basically, and he interacts with fans on social media, lets them all know what the strategy is, and how it's going to play out over the course of a race day. So always tremendous insight from Mike Hull.
Yeah, Mike told me he was retired about 15 years ago, and he's still doing it because he absolutely loves it. But you know another reason? He's so good at what he does. He really is just one of the guys, and we've always talked about Mike, how cool, calm, collected he is, no matter where his car is on the track. If he's challenging for the win or if he's challenging, mid-pack, he keeps it calm. They have a good strategy. He's just one of the best, and no question about it. If you want to be a strategist and call races and know about the sport, he's one of the guys you should try to follow and learn from.
Another thing that is not helping the cause of Mick Schumacher at all, Davey, is because of the way the NTT INDYCAR Series rules are set up, that in these particular sessions, in addition to the 40-minute all-skate, rookies have the option of running the ball because they're obviously given that extra set of tires for the weekend.
Yeah, that's right. They do have that extra set, and right now, like I say, he needs all the time he can get. And I like that as well, Mark. That's another, I think, really great call to make sure that these rookies that haven't made these facilities before, give them a little extra time. They have that one extra set of tires that can give them another 10, 15 laps pretty easily in these practice sessions, and they're very key, and just try to get everybody up to speed.
To give you an idea how some of these teams and drivers are starting to look at their qualifying sims, we see Kyle Kirkwood goes to P1. He's in the 67-second range, and Davey, it's no wonder that he's gotten there because he's on the alternates along with Marcus Ericsson, Will Power, and Ritas VK.
Yeah, only one in that 67-second range, or 107. 0.9, barely in there, but Ericsson right behind him, 108.19. Power looking good again. We talked about him being the fastest in certain sectors, but now you look at that sector time mark. Guess who's on top of all three of them? That's Kyle Kirkwood. He loves his places. Power just jumps him in first sector right now.
So with the comfort level that Kyle Kirkwood has at this racetrack, and let's face it, you look at the dominance, as we mentioned early on, of the Andretti's and Al Unser Jr. and others who have dominated here over the years. Sebastian Bourdais won an unbelievable 3 straight after Paul Tracy had gone back-to-back. Alex Zanardi, a multiple winner here as well. Let's face it, you have to have a good car. You have to have a fast race car. The setup has to be perfect to be able to win. But it's just amazing to me how, as we talked about, we alluded to it, Ryan weighed in on it as well. There are just some tracks that, for whatever the reason, suit a driver's style. And that's typical. That's clearly what we see in Kyle Kirkwood.
And there's one thing that, we all have natural ability. You all have ability that you learn and you take control of as you get more experience. But I think that that's one of those tracks that you just, from early on, and some of the tracks that you may have raced on early on just fits you. And that's no matter what track that is for some of these drivers. When you have more of that and you're just accustomed to it, like this race here, Long Beach, obviously, some drivers go, oh man, that's a tough track. I can't get around there. I can't make it happen. But then there's other ones, just like we talk about Kirkwood, it's just natural for him. And matter of fact, Will Power's always been good here. He just went to P1 right now. I look at that car. Be honest with you, it looks just like Colton's car. It's number 26. I know he's a replacement, but when they make it the identical paint job for Will, sometimes I get it confused. But that car's fast, just shoots right to the top of the chart.
Yeah, TWGAI sponsorship on that car, and Will Power goes to P1, and he's doing so on those alternates at a 67.842. I'm assuming that you had different tracks that you felt comfortable with, giving the variety of cars that you ran over the years. So let's throw a couple of out there. What was your favorite track in terms of a modified?
Yeah, well, in a modified, I think Madera Speedway. That's where it all kind of started when I got into the really good race cars, and it's a multi-banked track. There's different banking through the corners from first lane, second to third. I just think it's a bit of a challenge. I got to where I could run really the high side really fast up there. A lot of guys didn't want to go up there, so it allowed me to have a lot of wins there.
How about an IndyCar?
Well, I think Phoenix. I think Phoenix is another one that fortunately I won a lot of super modified races at Phoenix as well, but that was another track that kind of merged over to IndyCar that I just felt comfortable with. And I didn't get an IndyCar win there, but got 5 in that super modified. But I think that one and then the next one for me in IndyCar is Indy. I mean, I just felt always good there. I always had fairly good luck there. Didn't always have the best cars because nobody does. Sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad. I should say good years and bad years, but it was always a fun one to look forward to go to.
5.5 minutes remaining in this session, and knock wood, Davey, except for a couple of minor offs here and there and some brake blocks, and the the malfunction for in the machine of Schumacher, it's been a relatively clean session.
Yeah, no, really good. I think, matter of fact, I'm surprised that nobody's introduced themselves out there on that turn 9 off that long back straightaway where those bumps. We've seen Rossi get just a little bit, but right now everybody's doing a good job. And you can see right now from the monitors and from our booth here, Mark, where just so much rubber is getting laid down, and I think it's from all the other race cars on course this weekend, and everybody's alive and fired up for this one.
Stay pretty smooth this racetrack year to year?
Yeah, you know, it's just that turn 10, or I'm sorry, turn 9. I think that's the one that just catches everybody off guard. For whatever reason, those bumps down there just don't seem to go away. I know that they put a patch there at one point in the really bad area, but that's still the area. But year to year, yes, I have to say this track is pretty consistent, and I think that's why you see it so competitive here, because everybody has been here. They got a good base setup, and it's just a matter of that driver getting the most out of it.
You know, honestly, I don't know that hairpin, which is the iconic part of this racetrack, I would like to know, and maybe I can catch up with a good friend, Lewis Frank, who's been around here almost longer than the racetrack itself. But, you know, honestly, Davey, in order for that hairpin to work, whoever set up 9 and 10 the way they did, that's the only way they could set it up to make that hairpin work.
Yeah, that's a very key point, because it's so unique getting into that hairpin, and it's not easy because you want to be on the throttle, but you're turning all to the left, and then you're turning back to the right. Right, then to the left, and then back to the right for the hairpin, and so it is challenging right there, and I really like it because, you know, we've seen goods and bads, but when you come off of that turn 10, you can try to sneak under somebody at that hairpin. Now, we've seen that happen and cause a traffic jam there, but we've also seen some really good, brilliant passes on the inside there.
So at the opposite end of the racetrack, can you carry more speed to the left-hand or to turn 6? Again, as we talked about before, being mindful of the change in surface, but do you carry more speed through there than you do through the right-hander, which is turn number 8? Yeah,
you actually, it's about the same. You know, I mean, I think it's really about the same carrier speed. That's a really good point and a really good question, because when you go through turn 6, you know, it's somewhat blind, and it's just, I think, harder to get the power down. It's a really wide corner. You can use a lot of racetrack, where actually when you go down into 8, man, it gets really narrow down there, even though they've widened it up. But I think probably more speed going on that back straightaway, actually.
Let's go to Ryan Marine.
Marcus Ericsson, P3 in this session, set that lap pretty early on and then came to the pit lane, and they've been doing some significant work changing settings on the Allegra car here that they're about to fire up and send back out with a couple of minutes left in the session. Not only did they do the typical damper changes, but they actually changed their wicker bill on the rear wing as well. It'll be a scup set of the Firestone Reds for Marcus Ericsson as he heads back out on track here momentarily, trying to go for one last qualifying sim here in this session.
Right now, Dennis Hauger, the only driver on the primaries, along with Santino Ferrucci. We've got Will Power P1 at a 67.6053. Scott McLaughlin, 67.7914. Kyle Kirkwood at a 67.9861. Then Ericsson at a 68.1932. Alex Palou at a 68.4489. Felix Rosenquist, 6th fastest at a 68.5397. Then O'Ward at a 68.5721. Renus VK, 8th fastest at a 68.6513. Joseph Newgarden, 9th fastest. 10th is David Malukas. They're in the 68s, along with Lundgaard, Rossi, Armstrong, and Rahal. So, Davey, let's face it, this group, we should say through Foster and Ferrucci, those are the 13 cars in this session. Some of those drivers' times are on our timing and scoring from the 40-minute session. So, just about everybody running pretty strong in the 68.
Yeah, right. They really are. Ferrucci, I'm a little surprised. Talked to him this morning. Oh, we got one on the wall. That's McLaughlin into the fence and turn 9 right there. Just as he's in P2, and there it is. We've seen that before. Remember Colton Herta back, and they lead in the race and made that same mistake, just pushing too hard down that corner. I'm going to guess he got in those bumps and just couldn't get it slowed down.
We can see him in the cockpit, and he obviously is already beating himself up, shaking his head back and forth. And I'm sure he's in immediate conversation with the crew. So a tough end of the session for Scott McLaughlin. Here's a look at the replay.
Yeah, well, watch it. Yeah, what happened actually, he got in those bumps and the back of the car. Yeah, he couldn't get the back of the car down. Oh, he hit that pretty good. There's a lot. I thought he just kind of went in straight. There's a lot of damage to that car. It took the left rear and right front, just smashed him flat up against that car. So it's going to have some massive damage to that one.
Is there any way at all, Davey, you could move that car on approach to that turn a little more to the middle of the racetrack?
Yeah,
I mean, you're going to have to.
Yeah, no, it's smoother down there, no question. But the farther you go to driver's right, it gets smoother. But, man, it leaves you such a bad angle on that corner to be through there fast. And so that is the tough part. It's just, honestly, these drivers, I mean, they're out there, they're doing it. They know these cars. I just always conservative in that corner because you can make such a big mistake there. Just try to hope that the few laps you have to really lay down and qualify that you get it right. But he just went a little over that edge. And like I say, when he got those bumps, you could see the car starting, the back end starting to come around. Tried to gather that car up, just couldn't save it.
Well, this incident, no doubt, much tamer than the one that we saw him endure at Barber Motorsports Park. That was a frightening crash that, too, he was able to walk away from off of turn number 1. But Davey, it did not get the weekend off to a very good start for him, and the weekend didn't win very well. He started 14th and finished 16th.
Definitely never a good way to start a weekend or end a weekend is with a crash. You always want to unload and load your car up the same way, and I know that he's going to be bummed about that. He's, one thing is Scott, he gas ups. He's a super good driver. He came over here. We didn't know how he was going to do in these Indy cars. The first year he kind of felt it out, and he's just been on a tear. But I'll have to say that there's probably a few more mistakes out of Scott than some of those other drivers. I know he's got the speed, and I know he's really good. But if you go back to the record book and just look at the small mistakes like this.
There's a pattern.
Yeah, there's a pattern.
The reality of it is that this is no knock against him as a driver. I mean, he's won, he's set on poles, and a ton of talent, but there's a pattern, no doubt.
Yeah, there's definitely a pattern, and that's something that, even though he's good and one of the most talented guys probably in our field, you got to make sure you keep it, keep all 4 tires on it at all times. And even though he has the speed, he's just going over that edge a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's going to make a little bit longer night for the crew that they had wanted for sure before they get set to tackle the day's activities tomorrow, which will close out with qualifying. And so the good news is the clock has stopped momentarily. Be about a minute 5 remaining once they get that car on the hook and get it back to the paddock. And it looks like not too much disruption. That tire barrier, which obviously did its job. But the teams will have time for essentially, for lack of a better term, maybe one-time lap to get back to green.
Yeah, they'll let everybody go one-time lap with that amount of time, and that one lap doesn't seem like much. Is it worth it? Yes, because especially if you're really looking for something. And another thing that it does for a driver is gets his out lap good to make sure he gets proper heat in the tires, getting him ready for that qualifying run or whatever he's doing. So that even if it's just practicing your out lap, it's very important to do.
So let's check in with the engine manufacturer points, the ever-present battle between Honda and Chevrolet. Honda right now looking pretty good. Not an insurmountable lead, but a lead nonetheless at 344 to 297 over Chevrolet.
Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on that, too. Obviously, Honda had a really good year last year. Chevrolet, they seem to come alive when it comes to Indy 500 time. So, I think they're going to even out, per se, by then, and they're continuing to fight. They're not giving up by any stretch, but, they're so good. It's just that, these teams, seems like right now, Honda and their team just really seem to be gelling, giving them those extra points they need. But Chevrolet, they can catch up in no time.
One of the things that we also follow, Davey, is that Firestone Pit Stop Performance Award, and right now we have an early leader for the first half of the season, looking pretty good for Graham Rahaal's team.
Yeah, Graham. Yeah, that's right. Graham. They're doing good. I mean, that team. We seen Jay Fry go over there. I could tell the restructure. I could tell Graham was 4th quickest at Phoenix. His teammate was 3rd. We just talked about that. Mick Schumacher qualifying's getting better. I see the organization of the team, I think, being better, more consistency. They still have some ways to go. They still, Graham, he was on the podium at Barber as well. So it's definitely going in the right direction, no question about it. And that's one thing, being ahead in this pit stop competition. That means they're doing their job behind the scenes at that shop, making sure that everybody's hitting their marks.
So it's Ray Letterman racing in first with 122 points, and Andretti Global's 28 car is second. Then, of course, Marcus Ericsson at 118, and then Joseph Newgarden's team at 117. And how about Regis VK and that Hugo's Holliger race team? They're inside the top 5. They have amassed 115 points so far.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's really impressive for that team, Delcoin Racing, and getting him in that part. We need to see some better results, obviously, for them. But VK, he's not going to give up. P8 right now. How about the leaderboard? It's Power, McLaughlin, Kirkwood, and Erickson. And McLaughlin just threw that time up there just a lap before he had the accident. But if you take him back out of it, that's all three of those Andretti Global cars, first, second, third, pretty impressive there as well.
Yeah, but I mean, that's nothing new. As we mentioned, in terms of the history and tradition of Long Beach, you can all go back to the first 4 races, 1984, 85, 86, 87. It was Mario, Michael, then Mario.
Yeah, and one thing that all the drivers out of that camp say, man, we have a great street course setup. And matter of fact, Colton was in Arlington, and he goes, man, I would like to be in the car because our street course setup is the best, and he knows it. So, I mean, that's obviously they have it figured out on these street courses.
Joseph Newgarden set on pole and finished second back in 2021 when you remember Colton Herta put King Taco on the map, Davey, nationwide by winning that race. Yeah,
that's right. It was a great win for Colton and King Taco, so definitely a hometown driver, a hometown sponsor. That was a great year.
So we get back to green to flag conditions, and Will Power continues P1 at a 67, 6053, it looks like. And then Scott McLaughlin, as we mentioned, his day is done against the tire barrier in turn number 9. And then Kyle Kirkwood, Marcus Ericsson, Felix Rosenquist, the top 5. VK, Newgarden, Grosjean, Hauger, Collette, O'Ward, Foster, and Santino Ferrucci. So we mentioned the points that we gave you, the top 10. Some guys that I think would like to see some more consistent results. Will Power currently 13th in points. Felix Rosenquist 14th in points. Santino Ferrucci currently 15th in points, Davey.
Yeah, you're right. Though, and you know what? They all need a little bit of speed. Now, they all need a little bit of luck and things to go their way. I have to say, because I think Will's had the speed, just some bad luck, right? We've seen Rosenquist, too. I mean, we've seen some speed there, just inconsistency on his part. Ferrucci, I think that he's being consistent in the race car and races. I think they are the ones that need to find the speed more than anybody. And, they're not giving up. They do have that alliance with Pinsky. And right now, Pinsky's fast, where I say McLaughlin just was on P2, Newgarden P9, and then Malukas P10. So they have some speed in those cars. Back to engine manufacturers, you see a Honda, then one Chevrolet, then Honda, then the next 6 after that Chevrolet. So they got them stacked on the top, but Honda seems to have a little advantage right now here at Long Beach.
Let's talk about David Malukas. I was asked in an interview earlier today how he has been a bit of Team Penske, and it looks as though it's gone swimmingly, quite frankly. And not easy to replace a guy who set the record for poles won, and Will Power with an Indy 500 championship, a couple of series championships. He currently finds himself 4th in points and very much in the running.
Yeah, that's right. He sure does. And I mean, a good fit over there. You know, we were all surprised with that change that they did, but he's doing a really good job. You know that he's going to find victory lane. We see Will Power right now, P1, but he did have a little lockup on that tire going out here. Look, tires a little bit cold right now, trying to get the most out of it. That's back to that outlap that I just talked about, coming out on the tires being down on temperature a little bit and just trying to get the very max out of the car without locking that tire up.
Well, we just watched him work his way through that very tough part of the fountain, through turns 2, 3, and then the setup for 4. And you think that exit of turn 5 is plenty wide and plenty forgiving, but we've seen that driver's side, that wall to driver's left, jump out and grab a few cars.
Oh, yeah. You know, I thought that when I seen the slow motion, I thought, oh, that's going to happen again. And I didn't. They just barely cleared it. But that is an area that you have to be careful. And we just seen the 18 car as well. And that is VK. I'm sorry, no, that is
used to be.
Hauger. I got to get that straight. Yeah, it was Grosjean. Actually, it was Hauger in the 19 car. That he really, when you're under braking, you can see that black dust come out of there. I mean, they're on the brake super hard at some of these corners, and you can just see that black dust coming out of those wheels right there when you're on the brakes super hard.
So that group has put the wraps on their session, Davey, and it's Power. McLaughlin, as we mentioned, who knows what he's going to find when he climbs back in the cockpit tomorrow. But Kirkwood, Erickson, so as you mentioned, that Andretti Global team, the 3 of the top 4, and then Rosenquist, O'Ward, VK, Newgarden, Grosjean, Collette, Hauger, Ferrucci and Foster. So while some appear to have unloaded fast, there are others at the bottom of that appear to be searching for some speed.
Yeah, Collette, Hauger, Ferrucci, Foster, obviously, we just talked. They need to go back and do a bit of work. And Foster, that's another one. We just, things got to start getting better with him. Just hadn't shown the speed consistently at all, especially when it came to the ovals.
Talking about Santino Ferrucci, with that test looming in just days here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we did catch up with some of these drivers earlier today. Santino Ferrucci, we all know what his history has been of late at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Wanted to get his thoughts and impressions as we prepare to test at the world's greatest race course.
No. Show up with a race, show up with our in-season car, just run through a couple of systems checks. We have some weird ideas that we just want to try, but the open test is a complete wash, in my opinion. I mean, it's like just make sure everything kind of, like, it's not even the correct car. So it's just starting to get a feel for the speedway, and I mean, I doubt we change more than like 3 or 4 items. Yeah. So I'm just going to go out there and run. And the weather's so different, time of year so different, it doesn't make any sense.
Interesting, Davey, because I think with the 25 drivers that we have here this weekend, if we pose that identical question, we get 25 different answers.
Yeah, exactly right. And yeah, it's so important. Like he said, it's not the real car, but you know what? Their cars are still good. I know AJ. He always has a car to go to Indy that is just perfect. I mean, the paint, you can't feel a sticker, or it's all painted in, paint masked, and it's not decal. They make their cars absolutely perfect. They get a perfect one for Indy, but it's still a good car, and it's really going to give you an indication where you're at. It's not going to lose you that much time. But Ferrucci is right. You got to go back there, and I know your first time on that track, you got to get used to that speed again. I mean, 230 mile an hour, you just don't do it very often. And when it's a year since you've done it last, going that kind of speeds, it takes a little bit. But I'm anxious to go there, obviously. I think everybody else is. It's a situation where it doesn't really give you the complete layout for the 500 and the week prior to it, who's going to be able to win. But I think it gives you a really good indication who's going to be one to shoot for.
I don't think anybody's happier about the AJ Foyt race team returning to their shop on Main Street. Certainly AJ coming to town, than our good friend Liz and the folks at Charlie Brown's on Main Street, because I think AJ gets mail there during the month.
Yeah, well, he gets it right next door for sure, so he doesn't have far to go. You know, that's no question about it. And that street's alive, isn't it, in the month of May? And anytime there's a racing event going on that street and Charlie Brown's, it gets a lot of action.
Pretty good start to the weekend for Marcus Ericsson, Ryan Marine.
Pretty good start all told for Andretti Global, and Marcus Ericsson has been a big part of that, of course. He made a couple of changes there and went out for one last run at the end. Did you like what you found?
Yeah, no, I think it was a pretty productive session for us. I think we improved the car throughout, which is always nice when you do that. And best feeling was actually on that very last lap. So, you know, that's plenty of stuff to look at for tomorrow, but positive start.
What do you know about the red tires, and specifically looking ahead to qualifying? Because that second run that you did right at the end there, that was on the used reds.
Yeah, no, it's just trying to gather information, you know, mainly for Fast 6, you know, with the new format to know if you want to run new or used tires for that Fast 6. So just trying to get information. I don't think it's a clear answer on that yet, so I think we need to dig into the data and sort of understand that, but that was a good test for us.
And you like your chances if you get into this new Fast 6 format, right?
Yeah, no, I loved it in Arlington. It was really fun, and obviously it helped that it was me on pole position, but I think it was fun for, you know, for everyone, for the fans, for everyone on the, you know, in the grandstands and watching on TV. Just creates a bit of a dynamic in the session, and more focus on those 6 last cars. So yeah, I think it's going to be really cool tomorrow.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.
It sounds like he's happy, Davey, and understandably so.
Yeah, right now, P4 right now. I know that another group has to go, but he's going to end up in the top, and they'll go, as he said, just go look at the data and just see where they can be a little faster, where they're losing a little bit over their teammates and the next guys. But I agree. I think he's very happy and in a good place right now.
So Group A, this is designated as Group A, and they, by the way, will run first in the split groups tomorrow. They'll flip them, which I think makes a lot of sense to do it that way.
Yeah.
So it's Alex Palou and Scott Dixon, Christian Lundgaard. Let's see. Marcus Armstrong, David Malukas, Christian Rasmussen, Alexander Rossi, Kippen Simpson, Graham Rahal, Nolan Siegel, and Stingray Ra. Those are the drivers that make up this particular group, Davey, and the clock has started with 11 minutes to go.
That's right. The 11 minutes, like I said, they'll more than likely go out there on these the black tires, just get a good balance of the car. I'm assuming most of them are going to put the reds on, go out and kind of do a qualifying. One thing the reds could do, it could change the balance of your car just a little bit for qualifying. So may have to put a little nose wing in or take some out, or just know what you're going to have to come up against for qualifying. But I think all these cars will put their softer compound red tires off. We see one off course right now down in it's Malukas went off. He's backing up, just overshot that corner a little bit on his outlap. Back to how important outlaps are to make sure you get them right and not overdo your car.
So again, this is the final session before we head toward tomorrow. And let's see, 10:35 local time at 1:35 at Eastern time. We'll have the second IndyCar practice session with the same format. Be a 40-minute all skate, then a couple of 12-minute group with a 15-minute window to get that in, by the way. Then at 3:30 local time, 6:30 Eastern, we will go qualifying tomorrow with that Firestone Fast 6 single-car qualifying format to finally set the field. And then, let's see, on Sunday, warm-up session at 10:10 local time, 1:10 Eastern time, and then join us for pre-race festivities beginning at 2 o'clock local time, 5 p.m. Eastern, as we have flag-to-flag coverage of the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. And as we mentioned, such an iconic venue, Davey. The weather, by and large, has always been picture perfect, and these are some of the most passionate fans anywhere in the world.
Man, the weather this year, I don't know if we can get any better, honestly. I mean, it's a high 70s. There's not a cloud in the sky. It's just absolutely beautiful here right now. And these Fridays just blow me away, just how many people are here. I mean, it's jam-packed. I mean, the grandstands are even jam-packed. I mean, not just people walking around. I mean, it is like race day here. And most venues would love to have this crowd just at a race day at any kind of form of motorsport. So it's rocking here in Long Beach.
Alex Below in the OpenAI Chip Ganassi Racing Honda. It's a black livery. First time we've seen a different livery for him in a while. It's the debut of this weekend. The company signed on as a primary sponsor for Long Beach and the race later this year in Washington, D.C. Partnership includes documentary shorts, box-to-box films by director Rob Wills, the team behind Netflix's Drive to Survive, including filming at Long Beach this weekend. They're hosting guests from the San Francisco headquarters. And, of course, Alex Palou, they may have a lot to follow because an average finish of 3.4 at Long Beach. But, Davey, surprisingly, no wins through 5 starts, but 3 podiums, including a 100% top 5 rate for Alex Palou at Long Beach.
Yeah, wow. You know, that's how about that, right? I mean, who doesn't want that? It's absolutely perfect. And you know, like we just talked about, he's been able to win here, been able to steal championships here. This is a place you want to mark your name in here somehow. Not everybody can do it, but it's a special place we continue to talk about.
Now, you want another crazy stat that I gathered up this week. Now, get this. Alex Palou has been in the top 5 in the championship standings for the NTT INDYCAR Series since the checkered flag flew at the PPG 375, Davey. That was at Texas Motor Speedway, April 2nd of 2023. That's 1,113 days when the green flag flies on Sunday.
Wow. What a set. I mean, and it don't look like it's not going to break here for a while. It's still, those days are still clicking, and I think it's going to click for a long time to come.
So 7 wins at Long Beach for the team. Scott Dixon won in 24 and 15. Dario in 09. Montoya in 99. Zanardi 98, 97. 96 winner Jimmy Vasser, who we heard from. Kind of got a look at that car earlier today. And as a team, Davey, 18 podiums, 25 top 5s, and 77 total Long Beach starts.
Yeah. That's another Chip. Chip likes winners, and he likes to win. He's done it here. I think, you know, he has a really good opportunity year in and year out to win this race. This is another one special. I know for sure he has a lot of great friends here that come to this race with Jim Williams and Al Arciero. I've seen a lot of those guys a little earlier today. They hang out at Chip's place. He has a lot of friends from California come and hang out with him. He wants to win this one.
Kiffin Simpson early atop the leaderboard, Davey. Kiffin Simpson looking at, let's see, a 68.730, I believe, 750, somewhere in that range.
So that puts him like in that 13th position overall right now, somewhere right in there. Actually, 11th position overall right now from the first ones, but good start. But Siegel number 2 right now, which he needs to have some speed.
And yet one more driver happens to be Kiffin Simpson. We call this segue for those of you that are playing along at home. We caught up with him earlier today, and I know the focus is on Long Beach, but wanted to get his impressions on what he's lking for in terms of the open test at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I know the team's talked about it a lot, and they're trying to figure out what our plan is and what our focus needs to be, and kind of depends on the situation, on if we get a high boost session or not, because that would be nice to get a little qual running in, but by the sounds of it, it may not be the case. So yeah, I think we'll just kind of do a mix of everything, you know, some long runs, some probably quite a bit of Q running, just to get that dialed in at first, and then we will maybe we'll try to get some pack running in later in the day.
Sure. Well, as we said, Davey, 25 drivers and probably 25 different answers.
Yeah, you know, and that's another thing. It's funny. It's well, we'll see if we get some pack running in the day. I thought the same thing last couple of years for that open test. I go, yeah, they'll get some pack running. It's usually about the third hour. They're pack running around there. I mean, it doesn't take them very long at all to get packed and go around there, and the whole field basically towing around there with each other and find out what race day is going to be like.
And again, I don't want to take too much attention away from this weekend, but the reality of it is, in addition to that test, once you clear the race on the road course and your focus begins on the 500, as we have seen over the years, and we can start talking about it, I think, and referencing it now, for whatever the reason, even if we go back to 95, which we continue to probably belabor that point, but even the most accomplished race teams, for whatever the reason, that place seems to choose people for the good and for the bad.
Yeah.
And there have been years where teams have shown up and just for whatever the reason cannot find any speed.
Well, you know, we're going to start with a guy that has the most wins there, and that's Pinsky, Roger Pinsky. They missed a race in 1995, and I mean, completely missed the race. So that tells you they won it in 94, missed it in 95. Then you got the Andretti family that they've led thousands of laps around there between all the Andrettis and been so close to winning that race. Marco being the last one when Hornish was able to get by him on that very last lap, but have not been able to pull it off. It just tells you how difficult that one race is and how everything has to go your way.
And by the way, speaking of Sam Hornish Jr., coming up on May the 20th, I had the opportunity to do an event recently in the city of Indianapolis with the Historical Landmarks Foundation, and we did an evening where it's chat with racers, as they say, and they invited me to talk a little bit about the radio network with Dave, and they have a dinner coming up on May the 20th, and you can go to their Facebook page, the Old Timers Club, get some information on it. But I'm going to be with Dave, and we're going to have Sam Hornish Jr. and maybe a few others to talk about that iconic finish way back in 2006 and that battle between he and Marco. Yeah,
matter of fact, I seen it again just yesterday. It came up on one of my feeds, and when Sam went into turn 3 on the white flag lap and made that run and had to back out of it, and he lost about 30 car lengths, I go, well, that's over.
Well, the guy that called that said that too. He thought it was over at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's over. I mean, there's no way you're going to make up that much time in one and a half laps, not even 1.5 laps. So, but then, by the way, Sam was under pressure getting passed by Michael Andretti. I mean, Michael was all over the back of him at that point trying to get by him. But, man, the afterburners came on, and Sam's car was perfect. He caught up to Marco. I think Marco had just to lift a little bit down there, and man, it was amazing. It still blows me away that he was able to make up that much time.
And you know what? He catches him every time, doesn't he?
Every time I watch it, it's still the same outcome. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So the time continues to wind down. We're under the 3-minute mark in the session, about 2.5 minutes remaining, in fact. And Palo has jumped to P1. He has leapfrogged over his teammate, Kippen Simpson, who's tumbling a bit now as everybody's on the alternates. Marcus Armstrong is finding some speed. Palo is around 68.093, I think that is. Then Armstrong at a 68.302. And then Scott Dixon, Kippen Simpson, Nolan Siegel in the top 5. Ray Hall, David Malukas, 7th fastest as he's going to make his final lap or two as he's making his way along the pit road now. Behind Malukas is Alexander Rossi, Christian Lundgaard, Stingray Robb, Dennis Hauger, and Christian Rasmussen. So as we saw in the last session, Davey, there are some that have got this place seemingly figured out, at least for now, and there are some that are still searching for speed.
Yeah, and we see one of them, I think, is Rasmussen, where Malukas came up on him really fast and he kind of blocked him. But also we see Malukas barely get into that outside wall. So they they were slowing each other down there for a while, but it looks like Rasmussen and 12 right now, the 12 drivers, just not having a good day right there. Hauger the same. He's in that 11th position, just doesn't have the time that he would like to see right now. Stingray Robb in that 10th, and Lundgaard, you know, a guy that we just talked about that we expect to see him on top of the podium many times. He's still in that 9th position. Mark Malukas only in 8th, but you're right. Palo, Armstrong, he's been another one to contend with, been pretty darn fast this year. Dixon, he's up to P3 right now.
Yeah, and Scott Dixon, a part of that vaunted team that we just talked about, Davey, the success that they have. We talked about Christian Lundgaard and all that he did at Barber, and we see him pedaling it a little faster now. He's moved up to P3. So a couple of more bow ties in the top 5 of this particular session.
Yeah, that's right. But the Lundgaard just did shoot it up there right now. Dixon fell down. That's right. They're falling down. 2 Hondas on top, then a bow tie, then a Honda and a bow tie with Rossi. Rasmussen, Rossi's teammate, just struggling around there. By his slowest out of this group, 12th out of the 12. Just a little surprising. Don't know if there's something going on or if he just can't find the mojo going there. But right now he's behind Stingray Robb. Malukas, another one, just doesn't have. He's going to lay a good lap down, I think, before this is over, but hasn't done it yet.
So what are we talking about here? If you're not fast, could it be a gearing issue? Could it be shock springs? I mean, what are you going to look at between now and tomorrow?
Yeah, well, that's all the above. You just have to look at the car and see if the gearing should be pretty accurate. It could be the driver. It could be just something not accurate. A shock may be bad, or a spring bad, or just not to his liking. The setup maybe his teammate likes, but he doesn't. So they just have to analyze every single thing on the data, where he's slow, where he's fast, and then look at the car, and he just has to tell him what the car's doing in that spot. He just moved up. He did get in that 10th position right now, ahead of Malukas and Robb.
Should be a pretty good baseline, though, for the rest of the weekend based upon the conditions right now. These should be very, very similar to what they qualify in and then race in on Sunday.
Yeah, that's one thing that stays really consistent around here is your what you're practicing, what you're qualifying, what you race. If that checker flag falls out, after overall everybody on track, power still stays on top. McLaughlin, Kirkwood, Palo, Armstrong, Erickson in that top 6.
All right, so that's going to do it, and it will do it with Alex Palo, P1, with Armstrong, Lundgaard, Dixon, and Rossi, the top 5 of this session. Then Simpson, Rahal, Hauger, Siegel, Rasmussen, Malukas, and Stingray Robb. Again, join us tomorrow, and we will have the whole gang here to call the action for you out on the course with Jake Query, Nick Yeoman, and Michael Young. We'll have Jonathan Grace in the pit lane with Ryan Marine. DJ Clark will join us on Sunday. And again, action gets underway at 10:35 local time, 1:35 Eastern, then at 3:30 local time, 6:30 Eastern, complete coverage of knockout qualifying and the Firestone Fast 6 single-car qualifying format. Alex Palo, fastest for now. On-site engineering and production, courtesy of Rick Evans, the network director handling master control at our Indianapolis studios today. Chris Polly. Great stuff from Brian Marine in the pit lane. And for our driver analyst, Davey Hamilton, this is Mark Jane saying so long for now from the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach.
The preceding was an exclusive copyrighted presentation of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network.
This is Kings of Speed, stories of the men that have answered the challenge of the great Indianapolis 500-mile race. I'm Paul Page, with another look at the historic past of the 500. 1963 was the year of the rookie at Indianapolis, not so much because there were so many, but because so many of those new drivers that year would go on to greatness. Three-time winner Johnny Rutherford made his debut in 1963 and ended his race with mechanical failure just after the first 100 miles. The great Jimmy Clark, destined to win both the 500 and the World Driving Championship, first ran on the Brickyard in 1963. One rookie of 63, who made it very big later, started out with a bang.
Bobby Unser in car number 6, the Hotel Tropicana Novi. Gas and water coming down on the track. They will have to slow down completely. Bobby gets out of the car and runs over across the track. Coming out of that turn, he spun once, hit the wall, came to rest with the nose of number 6, the bright yellow Novi, here against the wall. Bobby is okay. The car is damaged on the right rear. And now they're slowing them down as they come by. There is gasoline on the track. Bobby is okay.
Yes, it was not the happiest of days for Bobby Unser, but later he would win the 500 3 times. This has been Kings of Speed, a look at the past of the world's greatest race, the Indianapolis 500.
What's the difference between a Henchman fire suit and others? Safety. Henchman fire suits are made with materials that are permanently fire resistant. Experience and innovation. Peter DiPaolo wore the first Henchman fire suit in the Indianapolis 500 nearly a century ago. Quality and value. Your fire suit is an investment in your safety. Henchman Racing Uniforms, committed to giving you the safest and best fire suits along with friendly personal service. That's why we say nothing fits like a Henchman.
Know someone with a drinking or drug problem? Learn how to get sober after we share these stories.
I was 35 with 2 beautiful children when my life and addiction started to spiral out of control. After my divorce, I went into a depression cycle and started drinking more often and using prescription drugs. After my second DWI and arrest, my ex-husband threatened to take our children away from me.
I was 17 when I became addicted to heroin and meth. I thought I could quit on my own, but I couldn't. It hit me when I was arrested.
Get sober now. Your private insurance may cover costs and we'll get you here. It's simple. Just call Elite Rehab Placement right now. Please, don't wait. Your life matters to us. 800-958-2155. 800-958-2155. 800-958-2155. That's 800-958-2155.
Nothing beats seeing a child smile. For over